My hobby is Python programming. Python programming. Python is an easy programming language, which is because it's high level. Because if they want to make a programming language that's very hard for the computer to understand, then they have to make it where it's easy for the human to understand, otherwise it has no point. Python can do a lot of things that all other programming languages can do. It can't do everything, of course, but the programming language R, which deals with data, takes care of that. Here is some Python code to print all the non-prime numbers less than 100. So, the first line, what do you think the first line does? Anybody? You're right, it sets k to 2. It just simply stores 2 as the value of k. So, what do you think while k is less than 100 and for x in range 1 to k means? Anyone? This is a little harder. There it is. So the while loop means to repeat as long as k is less than 100. Because while in everyday conversation means as long as. So the while loop means as long as k is less than 100, run the code inside. The for loop is less obvious, but for means run through, well, actually for means, okay, I'll just give up. Okay, this basically means that first x will be equal to the first element in range 1 to k, which is 1. Then, after the below code runs, for x in range 1 to k will run the second time, and x will become the second element of range 1 to k, which is 2. Then it repeats and repeats and repeats and repeats, which is why it's called a loop. And then it finally reaches the last element of range 1 through k, which is actually k minus 1. This is hard to remember, but remember this. Beginning is included and end is excluded. Like end excluded, EE. Get it? So, finally, we are going to see what k plus equals 1 means. Anybody willing to speak up? So, k plus equals 1. Programmers were trying to find a quick way to state that we're increasing k by some amount. X equals to k and k equals to x plus some other value would be logical in general, but it would be also very hard. K plus plus would be logical and easy, but it isn't general. Of course, we're not going to mention the one which is not logical. That'd be hilarious. But the one that satisfies it all is k plus equals. It basically increases k by 1. How do I do this? It's insane. So, why I like Python programming. Programming is amazing because you can take control of the most powerful technology made by humankind and make it do the silliest things. Like what? Let's see some ideas. What are some silly things you can do based on what you saw in the last slide? Good. For another example is that you could print a gigantic random string of letters like programming can help you do repetitive tasks quickly. Can you give me an example? Anyone? Nice. So, programming, another example is if you want to program it to be able to move an arm up and down, up and down, up and down, likely to stamp things. Programming can also help you do non-repetitive tasks faster. Can you give me an example? Anyone? So, programming can... Another example is that if you want to find a bunch of names in a database, programming can help you do that. Programming can also help you find the names in the database even faster. Whoa, giddy up. Fourth, Python is a multi-purpose, easy-to-learn programming language. Well, there are also other programming languages, but they're less easy to find. And Java, even though it's multi-purpose, is not super easy, despite it having had a reputation for being easy. HTML is easy, but it's too easy. Some people say you don't even need to learn it. But it only is used for making boring text only with a few lame animations. But APL is absolute nuts. It is gibberish. It looks like absolute gibberish. Some programmers have even described it as a write-only language. And it is not general either. It only deals with numbers. Python is also especially great at machine learning and data science. Thus, data can be managed in mass, like that name example I told you earlier. So here's a glossary. We'll have to go through this really quickly. So here's a transistor. It has input, electricity trapper, output. These are, and by the way, the title is all the cool things you can do in Python and things you want to think. Also, this is counting from binary. Do you see any patterns here? If so, can you tell me what's next? Spoiler alert at the end. This is an array. Each of the values fit neatly into buckets. To find them is pretty quick.